Hello, everybody. I am ASMR EQ. I just got back from holiday, and I have acquired a collection of books. Um, I love to read. I did 2 book videos recently, if you want to check those out. One of them being a librarian roleplay where I showed off some of the books I have. And then I did I did a book review over Tender is the Flesh. And it kind of was the tipping point for some frustrations I've been feeling because I love to read. But in this day and age, my attention span has kind of gone like most other things. So over the holiday, I traveled a lot and I got a couple books. And I want to talk about these books and what I got. So, the first book is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. The cover is yellow with a little blue binding. Got this cool artwork on the front, this very stylized script, I guess you would call it. The words look cool. This is, I think out of these books this one is the most out of my comfort zone as it comes to reading, especially recently. But this book won Barnes & Noble Book of the Year. Honestly, the advertising is what sold me on this book. It's advertised as a murder mystery, a comedy, a tale of people. It's a very dense, in-depth book. If you can see, I did start reading it. Just a little bit. Not crazy. I wasn't going crazy, but I started reading it. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit. Here's what the inside cover says. In 1972, when workers in Pottstown, Pennsylvania were digging the foundations for a new housing development, the last thing they expected to uncover was a human skeleton. Who the skeleton was and how it got buried there were just 2 of the long-held secrets that had been kept for decades by the residents of Chicken Hill, the dilapidated neighborhood where immigrant Jews and African Americans lived side by side, sharing ambition and sorrows. I am about... Let's see, where am I at? I am 83 pages into the book. Obviously, the book is thick. If that's 83, it's about a 300 to 400 page book. We are not at the murder mystery yet. I'm 83 pages in the book, and the murder missing skeleton has been mentioned once. It is an incredibly good book so far. The writing for the characters makes you appreciate and enjoy the characters. The building of the town, kind of what we're talking about socially, economically, politically, where in, bumped my microphone. It's the 70s. Racism is kind of running, and is affecting our characters, but people are pushing through it's a very good book so far. I hope it remains good, I should say. But I got this book. This is not usually what I would be reading, but I thought it sounded cool. Next up, I got The House Guest. This is a very small book, as you can see. If you notice these other books that I'm going to show in this video, or the other books I showed in my old videos, or even if you look behind me at these books, save my manga over here. I'm not a very small book enjoyer. I get a lot of big books, hundreds of pages, long reads. I saw this book. Somebody was talking about it on, I believe TikTok, might have been Instagram Reels. The cover really got me. I love the cover. This kind of simple, abstract, chic color play. It just looks great. Um, Here's what the back says. Like those of Kafka, Poe, or Shirley Jackson, Amparo Davila's stories are terrifying, mesmerizing, and expertly crafted. You'll finish each one gasping for air. With acute psychological insight, Davila follows her characters to the limits of desire, paranoia, isolation, and fear. She's a writer obsessed with obsession who makes nightmares come to life through the everyday. Loneliness sinks in as easily as a razor-sharp knife. Some sorts of evil lurks in every shadow. Delusion takes the form of strange and very real creatures. After reading The House Guest, Davila's debut collection in English, you'll wonder how this secret was kept for so long. So, to my understanding, this is a series of short stories about a couple of ghosts. Sounds very cool. I figured for a small little something, it'd be a nice little read. I got this one in Kentucky. I got the Heaven and Earth grocery store in Texas. Next, we have more My Speed of Book. We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. Shirley Jackson wrote A Cabin on the Hill, which is now being adapted into a Netflix kind of documentary. Or not documentary, what would you, like a TV show? So when you get a Shirley Jackson book, it's all that's going to be mentioned is that other story. This one is very secretive. There's nothing on the back. There's nothing really on the front showing you what it's about. If you open up the inside of the covers has writing, but it's the first couple of sentences from the book. So, what is this book about? To my understanding, it's about this creepy little family who lives in a castle. That's kind of about it, though. I love horror books. And this book in particular, I don't know if you can see, but the pages are very textured, very ruffled. Let me see if I can show you. I'll set my microphone down. So the pages have this very like rough, if I run my finger on it, it's not one texture. Oh, brother. I love that addition to books. All right, buddy. Sorry. We've always lived in the castle. I love horror books. Most of my collection is becoming horror. I just love horror. I love reading it. As someone who has a short attention span, ADD, whatever, horror has always kept me kind of entranced because you're craving to hear what happens next. Like, you need that punchline. So horror has kept me really kind of tapped in. So I got this book. I thought it'd be cool. Next, this book you might have heard of. It's a literary classic, Lord of the Flies. This book also has, if you'll see, that kind of texture on the pages as the last one did. I love how this book feels. This book in particular feels so good. It just feels great. Even if I never read this book, it is going to feel good to hold it in my hands like this and like this. It's dense. It's dense, but it's not heavy. It's not light. It's not overbearing. The pages are a nice texture. It gives you the vibe of a very worn book. It's great. Book-wise, I never read Lord of the Flies. A lot of people my age, and I want to say a little bit older, so mid-20s kind of range, mid to early 20s, I guess I should say. Read this book in school. A lot of people read this book in school. I never read this book. I read The Great Gatsby instead, I think, in place of when other people read this book. But to my understanding, it's about a plane that crashes on an island of some kind, and a group of children end up living on the island, surviving, making their own kind of society. This specific version has an introduction by Stephen King and a foreword by Lois Lowry. Just a really cool cover. You know, obviously, some one of the main characters in some kind of anguish. The back has a hog. I'm sure that's important to the story, but he just looks cool. I'm really hyped about this book. I'm very excited. I need to read more classics. I like to read modern literature. I'm not super well versed on some of the really well established books that we know are well established. So this is going to be my introduction to the classics. So I'm very excited about this book. And last but not least, this is kind of a nerdy pick. This is The Complete Book of Chess Strategy by international master Jeremy Silman. I like to watch chess, and I know how to play chess. And when I was a kid, I used to play chess, but I was never really good at it. So, when I found out that Chess YouTube kind of took off after 2020, I learned who Magnus Carlsen is, and I forget his name, Hikamaru. Got into that, and then watched Gotham Chess and kind of those YouTubers, and I love watching ASMR chess. If you haven't checked out ASMR chess, and he's great. He's probably my favorite ASMR artist right now. But I learned through this journey that chess is a lot of not what I would call strategy. When I think of strategy, I think about laying out a game plan, having a bulletproof process for what happens, what comes your way, how am I going to react, how should I respond. That is my strategy. Risk is a good strategy game. I'm going to put my people down, I'm going to disperse them out thin and fortify the walls, or I'm going to keep them in close and bunker down. That is a strategy game. Chess is a lot of strategy, but there's a large aspect of chess that is having a prior knowledge and being able to memorize what happens and how you should respond to it. There are openings, hundreds of openings. There are hundreds of closings, ladder checkmates, Sicilian dragon defense, King's Gambit, Queen's Gambit. There's a lot that goes on. And I learned, little kid me was a little butthurt because I grew up thinking these chess players are, super geniuses, in which they are. And by no means am I trying to say that they're not. But there's a lot less thinking than I thought was going on, which makes sense. This game is incredibly old. There's going to be games that have been played before. But I was thinking, people are hyper analyzing every single move that happens and super competing with their opponent. But in reality, if I choose an opening and you choose a defense, I know what the next 5 things to play are based on what you play. I already know them. You know what I mean? long story short, I thought it would be cool to kind of break down certain chess aspects. I'm trying to get this a good angle for you. And just learn some stuff. We go to school. Here, this is one about castling on opposite sides. We go to school for 10, 15, 18, 20 years. And we learn. We look at a textbook and it gives us a problem and we do it. And I feel like that has gotten away from us, at least for me, to an extent. So I thought it would be fun to pick something that I like, read about it, look at it, analyze it, and then use my hands to replicate it. And chess just so happened to be that. Reading something and putting it into practice. Because reading these stories is great and cool, and I love to read stories. But using the strategy, I think, is going to be very enriching for me. So I got a chess book. I also got this while I was in Texas. I went to North Carolina, didn't get any books in North Carolina. I went to California, didn't get any books in California. Did I? No, I didn't get any. But, so these, 1, 2, 3, 4, I got 6 books. These 6 books is going to hold me off for a while. On top of that, I'm currently in the process of reading Fahrenheit 451. After that, I want to read Heaven on Earth Grocery Store. I need to finish A Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I need to finish Jeanette McCurdy's autobiography. And then I have a book called The Grip of It. I need to read The Grip of It. I also have a manga called Rooster Fighter. I guess I could. I don't know if you guys are big into manga. I just thought this looked cool. Rooster Fighter. It's about a rooster that fights. Cool. That was fun. Never read that though. I'm one of those people who I find comfort in having a lot of books because it makes me feel like I'll never be done. I'll always have something to do. But now we're getting to a point where I'm piling up. That being said, I'm bunkering down this year and I'm going to read. If you have any book suggestions, leave them in the comments. If it's a new book, a book you heard about, your favorite book of all time that maybe I haven't read, leave them in the comments. I'll check them out, see if I like them, see if I've already read them. We can talk about those books. But this year, I'm going to bunker down. I'm going to get some books read. So thank you for joining me. I'm glad you guys came to this monumentous occasion. And that's all I have for today. Comment your favorite book of these if you've read any of them. Give me some suggestions. And I will update you guys the next time I read a book and finish it. Okay, I'll see you guys later.